What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Humble Warrior checking in with you. Wanted to do a video today in regards to the LeBron Jordan topic. I've heard this debate numerous times, different strategies and analytics that either ESPN or First Take or Undisputed or whoever try to throw their angles at the debate. So I'm gonna take a crack at it. So there's a lot of talk about LeBron being the GOAT, the greatest of all time. In my opinion, he's not. I do have my sentiment on that, and a lot of people, of course, they'll disagree to say, well, he's beat the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. He beat the Boston Celtics. He beat who else did he beat? He beat OKC. He beat San Antonio, who were actually pretty good teams. But the biggest tool that most people use is the 73-9 Golden State Warriors squad that were led by Steph, Draymond, and Clay. In that comparison, he actually benefited from two things. One, Draymond was suspended, and two, Andrew Bogut broke his leg, so he was not able to continue the finals matchup. Now, he was able to take advantage of that, and they ended up getting the title. But let me not veer too far off the topic. In terms of LeBron and Jordan, to me, there's no real comparison. They're bipolar opposites. Jordan was known as a scorer, a stone-cold killer who basically took the will out of any team that he faced. LeBron is more so of a passive-aggressive player. He can score, and he can do multiple things with the basketball, but his system that he runs is predicated to accumulate all the praise. It's more so like if he's not in control of what's going on the court, then they don't really have a chance. And in the beginning, that was very evident in Cleveland. Now when he moved to Miami, the first year there, Pat Riley actually ran a real system under the leadership of Eric Spoelstra, and LeBron really couldn't deal with that, so they had to revamp the offense to cater to what his strengths were, which is him primarily handling the ball. In Jordan's case, he came up under Doug Collins and Phil Jackson, who were bipolar opposite in coaching styles. Doug Collins was more so like, get the ball to Jordan, everybody get out of the way. Where Phil implemented this triangle offense from, it was from Fred Winters, I believe, who was an assistant coach at the time, who developed this system to where the ball is in constant movement within a triangular motion around the half-court setting, and it allowed Michael to amplify his teammates and to get them to rise to where he is without exerting a whole lot of energy on both ends of the floor, which is why his numbers throughout the postseason, especially, they stayed productively high. He averaged around 33.8 points a game in his tenure in Chicago, and they rarely lost in the postseason. Some people can argue his first 3 years in the league, when he did make the postseason, he did get beat by Boston, but that was a very, very young Bulls team who Jordan basically willed to get into the playoffs, especially the year they won 30 games. That was his second year in the league. He broke his leg, and then he fought his way back to get to where they were the AFC facing the Boston Celtics. And he actually was the reason why the Bulls was in the game. I mean, the second game of the series, he scored 63, and that was the day. That was the game that Larry Bird said that God was disguised as Michael Jordan playing against them that day. In terms of their comparisons, it's not a lot to compare. They have two different playing styles. They also have a different view on things. So they don't look at opponents the same. Whereas with Jordan, he found any and every little thing to get him going. LeBron, he's, like I said, he's passive aggressive, so he tries to throw hints here and there about certain things, but he wasn't the type that get us up motivated off what somebody has said or what they put out there or whatever. There was no LeBron doesn't need slights to get him going. He just performed when he had to perform. But Jordan, it could be something as small as as one of the examples they gave on his documentary about the Bradford Smith game when he said "good game, Mike." Something as small as that, he gets fired up over it. So it doesn't take much to get him going. But the two themselves, I looked up some interesting numbers. LeBron James played 260 playoff games in his career so far. Jordan played 179. So LeBron has played 81 more playoff games than Jordan over his, I think it's been 17-year career. Jordan had 13 years. In 13 years, he was very, very proficient in the postseason. Now, the two themselves, their numbers are not as close because, again, LeBron played 81 extra games. So LeBron James in the postseason, he scored 7,491 points. Jordan scored 5,987. LeBron scored 1,500 more points than Jordan. But the point to that is in 13 seasons, Jordan put up over 5,000 points in the postseason, which means that every single year he was in the playoffs. LeBron came in at 18 and he didn't make the playoffs till he was 21. So he had a 3-year absence from postseason play, whereas Jordan came in at 21, made it every single year, and even though, yes, he got bounced 3 years and 1 year, which he got swept by Boston, he was very productive in those games. He did not average under 30 points in none of those games. That's how dominant Jordan was in the postseason. And in the Eastern Conference back then, he had way better competition than what LeBron has. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They'll say, oh, well, LeBron had Derrick Rose and DeMar DeRozan and that's really, it's kind of hard to think about who all he had, but it wasn't that much in terms of his competition. So he didn't have a whole lot, whereas Jordan had, Ewing and John Starks and Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson and the Bad Boy Pistons and the Boston Celtics. The Milwaukee Bucks at one time was actually a reasonable threat. Atlanta Hawks, Philly, hell, the New Jersey Nets. So Jordan had competition in both conferences. We're not gonna speak about the West with Magic and Clyde and Charles and Olajuwon and the Spurs and the Rockets and all these other teams were gunning for Jordan in the East. We're not gonna speak on that, but he had legitimate competition. So, in terms of their numbers, they're not going to be identical because, again, LeBron played way more games to achieve what he's done. I'm not taking away from him, but if you want to say you're the GOAT, then really Jordan only had like 10 full seasons in Chicago. He retired. He got hurt one season where he stayed out almost the entire season up until like 20 games left, I think. And he only played like 10 full seasons. So in 10 full seasons in Chicago, he scored 32,000 points. And that's not including the postseason. I don't think it's in here.
I can take it in the house. Oh, it's cold. I lied.
What?
I did take it to the house. It's on the sofa.
Jesus Christ. Just take it back in there for me.
I was wondering why you still out here.
Yeah.
Who you talking to?
This is YouTube.
Oh, sorry, you too.
Whatever.
Have a good trip to the doctor. Love you.
Love you too. But I'm sorry about that, YouTube. But yeah, in 10 full seasons, Michael Jordan packed his stats or packed his impact in less than 13 seasons, which he really only got credit for 10, because like I said, for a year and a half he was out of basketball. Then when he came back in '95, they got bounced by Orlando, only to come back the following year and sweep them. So and they actually got to the semifinal round against Orlando, and that's when Shaq and Penny and Horace Grant and Nick Anderson and all those guys were able to sweep Chicago. And that's when Nick made the famous quote that 45 isn't 23. So when people compare, these two guys, they have to understand what they're talking about. You're talking about two different eras of basketball, and you're also talking about two different playing styles, how they impacted the game, how people looked at them as a player. And just so we're clear, Michael Jordan was not an activist when it comes to certain things. He was more so about his self and his brand, which is no disrespect to him because he put Nike on the map. So to his credit, he's actually done more in silence than LeBron James has done publicly. And that's not even up for debate. The man probably wrote more checks than any of us probably know about, but we'll never know because he don't speak on it. He has no interest in trying to win over people by saying I help and I do this and I do that. Now in terms of their basketball accomplishments, they mirror each other, but only because LeBron has played longer. He has the longevity argument because Jordan refused to play for anybody that wasn't named Phil Jackson. Now, had Jordan played 3, 4, 5 more years, I do believe Jordan would be the all-time scoring champion. He would be the #1 scorer in NBA history. But because he didn't want to play for nobody else, he said to hell with that. He was, third or fourth on the list. So in 10 seasons, what he's able to accomplish is damn near amazing, which is why they don't say he's the GOAT for that, but they say he's the GOAT because he revolutionized what the modern NBA had become. It was a big man's league, and Jordan took that as a challenge, and he wheeled his squad to 6 championships in 8 years. Now people could say, oh, well, he had Scotty, he had this and that. That's what you acquire pieces for. But at the end of the day, Jordan was the alpha, and everybody knew who they had to answer to. So, yes, Scottie Pippen was a great wingman for Jordan. Outstanding. But don't get it twisted for a second that Jordan wasn't the straw that stirred the cup. Because even Pippen said himself that when Jordan left, the first year and a half that Jordan was gone, yeah, they were winning, but the manner in which they were playing, they were expending much more energy to win games than what they were when they had Jordan. Because he broke down the game so easily to them that they were out there just having fun. And their points came natural. Once he walked away from the game or stepped away from the game, it became more so of a let's show how we are without him. And they got, to their credit, they got to the conference finals, but New York put them out on a bogus call by Hugh Hefner. As I keep hearing his name repeated through the history books, he made a bogus call on Scotty, and because of that, they lost the Game 7 matchup. So it's no slight to what the Bulls were able to accomplish without Jordan, but it goes to show you, without their top dog, you're not going to get that far. And to their credit, they got as far as they were capable of getting. But this comparison is like, I don't understand the point of it. I get it. Everybody wants to crown LeBron the GOAT because of what he has accomplished. And even with this latest championship that he won with the Lakers, I still count it, but then I question, like, okay, you really didn't play KD, you didn't play Kyrie, you got through the Western Conference because you played a subpar Portland team, then you beat who did they play after Portland? They played, I can't think of the team that they beat. I cannot think of the next squad. Oh, Houston. They played a Houston team that Westbrook and Harden were not on the same page, period, because both of them were trying to dominate the basketball. Then they played a young, up-and-coming Denver squad that had just upset the Clippers and were riding an emotional high, who ran out of fumes in Game 6. So, I mean, these are not excuses, these are facts. And, it is what it is. But, LeBron capitalized on it, and he won his 4th championship. But that does not mean the way he did it is what makes him a target, because he joined squads just to get there. Michael Jordan built that camaraderie in Chicago. He had his ways, yes. He alienated teammates and made people upset, but his nature and his determination to win and be the best, it catapulted Chicago to a new level. And every postseason, he showed that. So when Jerry Krause built that squad that was able to help him capture those championships, he was at the forefront. He was the reason why they continued to win, why the Bulls were so dominant for almost a decade and a half, because Jordan was at the head of the spear. So, and Jordan's name is still revered to this very day. And the man ain't picked up a basketball in probably over 30 years. He officially retired in 2003. So it's been 18 years? So 18 years he hasn't picked up a basketball. And really, if you want to really, really be technical, his actual retirement in 98, that gives him about 25 years he hasn't picked up a basketball. So yeah, you can say almost close to 30 years that he has not actually played basketball. But even he's 50 now, or he's 50-something now. But even at that, 20-something years or 25 years of not even picking up a basketball, he's still revered as the most dominant force in NBA history. And he hasn't even stepped foot on the NBA court in over 25 years. So I don't understand the comparison that people have between him and LeBron, outside of what LeBron was able to accomplish in a longer period of time. Now, if Jordan had went to another team or kept playing for Chicago just to put up stats, then of course LeBron won't be able to touch him. It would take LeBron an extra 3, 4, maybe 5 years to catch Jordan as the all-time scorer in both playoff and regular season. And that is no joke, because at the time Jordan retired, Jordan was 34. So if Jordan chose to play for 4 or 5 more years, he could have done it, maybe not at the highest level, because as everybody knows, as you get older, you start to lose more and more athleticism. So Jordan would have lost that by the age of 38, or really by the age of 37, about 37, 38 years old, he would have lost it. So, but he still would have been able to at least get you 20. There's no doubt about that, because mentally, you get sharper, it's just your body starts to give out. So he still would have been putting up numbers, but he wouldn't be playing as many games because he'd be resting. So to his credit, Jordan packed a lot into 10 years. And to me, 6 championships in like a 10-year span, that's pretty amazing. LeBron's on year 16 and he only got 4. And he really didn't pack anything. He started his championship accomplishments in 2012. So for the last 9 years, he's won 4. And Jordan started his in 91. From 91 to 98, he was a champion. He took that little hiatus break for a month and a half, came back at 95. The very next year, which is 96, he won another one. Then he won one in 97, and then again in 98. So he triple played himself back to back with championships. which is why he's defined as the GOAT, because of what he was able to overcome. And given his height and given what the league was at the time, that's pretty amazing. So when people speak on GOATs and stuff like that, they should not be so quick to dismiss Jordan because of his short amount of time in the league. If Jordan wanted to, he could play up until he was 40. But I think Jordan understood that times are changing and it's time for him to move on. He also understood that without Phil Jackson, he was not going to probably be able to get back to the finals, because at the age he was at, it was going to expend a lot more energy than he was willing to give. So, and not to mention the team around him was going to be dismantled. So he's going to start over with brand new, fresh blood. He would have to train up, and most of the time most of the young people are not receptive to what he was going to try to put them through. So that was going to be another battle in itself for him. But to his credit, he gracefully, exit stage left until he decided to return when he went to the Wizards. But, they don't count that as a stain on his legacy because he was only trying to get the team at that time. So that was his whole mindset. But nonetheless, in the short time he did play, Michael Jordan put a lot up. He got maximum production out of 10 or 11 years. That's the difference between him and LeBron. If LeBron had done this or accomplished most of the stuff he's done in the 10-year or less period when he first came into the league, then there would be no conversation to be had about him and Jordan, because he would trump Jordan, but he wasn't able to do it. And it's not a knock on him, but it goes to show you that determination and heart goes a long way. And Jordan was as fierce a competitor as I've ever seen in my 30-some years of living. That man refused to lose. So you can't say that about LeBron, because they're not from the same fabric. They're not cut the same. But to LeBron's credit, he has his 4 titles, just like Jordan got his 6. Do I think LeBron may win another one? No, because I think the league has caught up to him. I also think that they're gonna do the changing of the guards, and more younger teams and stuff are gonna start to step up and take over. So I don't think that he's gonna get back to another finals. I just don't see it happening. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. I think last year was his last championship he's gonna actually win, especially what's going on in Brooklyn right now. So I just don't see it happening. But let me know your thoughts, you guys, on this debate, and give good pointers. Give good suggestions and comments in the comment section, because I really want to know what other people think. I've read most of the comments from people. Some made sense, some didn't. But nonetheless, I just want to hear what you guys think. I will put out another video tomorrow concerning the Miami Dolphins, but today I just want to talk about LeBron and Jordan. All right, guys. Peace.